Picture this. You're sitting on a jury. The defendant walks in and they're kind of attractive. Well-dressed, calm, put together, and before anyone has said a single word, before one piece of evidence has been shown, you've already started forming an opinion about them. Not based on facts, not based on anything logical, just based on how they look. And here's the wild part. That snap judgment doesn't just shape how attractive you think they are. It starts influencing how intelligent you think they are, how trustworthy, even how moral. And you don't even realize it's happening. That's the halo effect. And honestly, it might be one of the most powerful biases quietly running your life right now. So let's get into it. So the term was actually coined by a psychologist named Edward Thorndike way back in 1920. He was looking at how military officers rated their soldiers, and he noticed something really strange. If an officer thought a soldier looked physically sharp or neat, they would almost automatically assume that soldier was also intelligent, loyal, and a good leader, even with no real evidence of any of that. One good trait was casting a kind of glow over everything else. He called it the halo effect. And over 100 years of research since then has confirmed, yeah, this is just how our brains work. Here's why it happens. Your brain is basically a prediction machine. It's always trying to build a full picture from limited information because that's more efficient than starting from scratch with every new person you meet. So when someone gives off a strong positive signal, like being attractive, your brain doesn't pump the brakes and say, okay, let me evaluate everything else separately. It just generalizes. It goes, this person seems good here, so they're probably good over here too. It fills in the blanks with positivity. And the single most powerful trigger for this? Physical attractiveness. Now here's where it gets a little uncomfortable because the research on this is genuinely wild. Back in 1972, psychologists Dion, Berscheid, and Walster ran a study where they showed people photos, attractive, average, and unattractive individuals, and asked them to rate those people's personalities. And the attractive people, they were consistently rated as smarter, kinder, more competent, better socially, across the board. And again, the only information people had was a photograph. They literally titled the study, "What is Beautiful is Good." But it's not just about perception. This stuff has real consequences. Studies on courtrooms, actual legal proceedings, have found that attractive defendants are less likely to be convicted, and when they are convicted, they tend to get lighter sentences. Let me just sit with that for a second. Your facial symmetry could influence whether a jury thinks you're guilty. In the workplace, attractive people earn more money on average over their careers, not because they're more skilled, but because of the unconscious assumptions managers make about their competence. Economists literally call it the beauty premium. In schools, teachers rate attractive kids as more intelligent and more likely to succeed. And because those kids get more attention and encouragement as a result, they sometimes actually do perform better. The bias creates the outcome it assumed. And even in politics, researchers at Princeton found that people could predict election results with surprising accuracy just by glancing at candidates' faces for a fraction of a second. We think we're voting on policy. We're also, a little bit, voting with our eyes. So at this point, you might be wondering, okay, are we just shallow? Like, what's going on here? And the honest answer is, it's not quite that simple. There's actually an evolutionary reason our brains do this. For most of human history, physical appearance was genuinely informative. Symmetrical features, clear skin, good posture. These were real signals of health, strong genes, low disease. So if you needed to make a fast decision about who to trust or who to partner with, using appearance as a rough guide wasn't totally irrational. It was a shortcut that kind of worked. The problem is that we're running this really old mental software in a completely different world. Back then, the people around you were mostly from your community. You had context, you had history with them. You got real feedback over time about whether your first impression was right. But now, we're constantly meeting strangers, in job interviews, on dating apps, in courtrooms, and our brain is still reaching for that same ancient shortcut. Except now, how someone looks tells us almost nothing meaningful about their character or competence. Our bias just hasn't kept up with the world we actually live in. And this is where it gets really dark, because some people don't just experience the halo effect passively. Some people use it. Think about cult leaders throughout history. They're almost always described as magnetic, charismatic, physically compelling in some way, because that halo gets people in the door before critical thinking even has a chance to kick in. And then there's Ted Bundy, one of the most notorious serial killers in American history, and people who encountered him consistently described him as handsome, charming, normal-looking. He knew exactly what he was doing. He understood, maybe not in these clinical terms, but intuitively, that his appearance would lower people's guard, that a good-looking, well-spoken guy just didn't fit the mental image of danger. He weaponized the halo effect, and it cost people their lives. Con artists do the same thing. Narcissists do the same thing. They invest heavily in appearance, in first impressions, and in performing confidence, because they know that once that halo is in place, people stop looking for the cracks underneath it. So, what do you actually do with all of this? The first thing, and honestly the most important thing, is just awareness. You can't completely switch off unconscious bias. That's not how the brain works. But you can slow down your automatic thinking by asking yourself a really simple question. What do I actually know about this person based on their behavior, their track record, their actions, versus what am I just assuming? Try to consciously separate different traits. Someone being attractive or charismatic tells you they're attractive and charismatic. That's it. It says nothing about their integrity, their reliability, or whether they actually have your best interests at heart. Those things get revealed through behavior over time, not through a great first impression. And here's a specific thing to watch for. Be especially careful when someone seems almost too perfect on the surface, because that combination of polished looks, easy charm, and a really smooth first impression, that's exactly the environment where manipulation tends to thrive. The halo effect is most dangerous when someone is actively and deliberately cultivating it. At the end of the day, the halo effect is just a reminder that our brains aren't neutral. They're not passively recording reality. They're editing it, filling in gaps, making assumptions we never consciously agreed to make. And knowing that changes things, because once you see it, you can't really unsee it. Attractive doesn't mean good. Charming doesn't mean trustworthy. And the person who seems like the whole package from the outside, look a little closer. The truth lives in the details, not in the halo. Now, before you go, I want to ask you something, and I genuinely want to know your answer. Has the halo effect ever worked on you? Like, looking back, was there someone you trusted way too quickly just because of how they looked or how they carried themselves, and it didn't end well? Drop it in the comments. No judgment. Honestly, the most self-aware comment down there might just get pinned. And here's a little challenge I want to leave you with. For the next 48 hours, every time you meet someone new or form an opinion about someone, just pause for a second and ask yourself, am I reacting to who this person actually is, or just to the image they're projecting? That one question alone will start to rewire how you see people. If this video made you think, do me a favor and share it with someone who you think needs to hear it. Because honestly, most people walking around right now have no idea this bias is running them. You'd be doing them a real service. And if you're new here, welcome. This channel is all about pulling back the curtain on the hidden mechanics of human behavior. The stuff that's quietly shaping every decision you make, every relationship you're in, every person you trust or don't trust. If that sounds like your kind of thing, subscribe and turn on notifications, because the next video is going to somewhere even darker than this one. I'll see you there.